The report was 4 pages long. 4 pages, dated October 3rd, 2009. And on the 3rd page, in the middle of a paragraph nobody was supposed to question, a detective named Ronald Briggs typed 7 words that would consume the next 11 years of one family's life. Manner of death, determined. Self-inflicted gunshot wound. Marcus Dwayne Ellis was 31 years old. He had called his mother at 7:14 p.m. the night before they found him. He told her he was cooking dinner. He told her the game was on. He told her he would see her Sunday. He laughed at something she said before he hung up. His mother, Patricia Ellis, would replay that laugh in her mind every single day for 11 years, because a man who laughs like that on a Thursday night does not pull a trigger before Friday morning. She knew it the moment the officers came to her door. She knew it when they handed her the report. She knew it when Detective Ronald Briggs looked her in the eye and said the words families are never supposed to argue with. "Ma'am, the evidence points to suicide. I'm very sorry." Patricia Ellis took the report. She sat in her car in the parking lot of the Meridian Police Department for 40 minutes. Then she drove home. And she started reading. If you have ever been handed an official document and known, deep in your bones, past any argument anyone could make, that it was wrong, then you know exactly where Patricia Ellis sat in that parking lot. This story is for everyone who was ever told to accept an answer that never fit the question. Subscribe and turn on notifications. New case every single day, because some answers deserve to be challenged. Marcus Ellis was the kind of man who showed up. If your car broke down at midnight, Marcus was the one who answered the phone. If your rent came up short, he did not ask questions. If your child needed someone to show up to the school play when their father could not make it, Marcus was already in the 3rd row. He had worked in logistics management at a distribution center in Meridian, Mississippi for 6 years. His supervisor described him in a statement later obtained by the family as the most reliable employee I have managed in 20 years. He coached youth basketball on Saturday mornings. He had 17 kids on his roster that fall. He had a daughter named Amara, 8 years old, who called him every night before bed without exception. He had called his mother on a Thursday and laughed. He had food on the stove. He had a game on the television. He had a daughter who needed him to answer the phone Friday morning. He did not answer. Meridian, Mississippi in 2009 was a city where certain deaths did not generate certain questions. The department had handled 11 African American male deaths that year. 7 of them were ruled suicide or accidental within 30 days. Of those 7 cases, 4 had active life insurance policies that paid out to families within 60 days of the ruling. Marcus Ellis had a life insurance policy. It had been active for 4 years. It would not pay out on a suicide. The department knew this. Detective Ronald Briggs had been with the force for 14 years. He had ruled 3 black male deaths as suicide in the previous 2 years. None of those families had been given a second opinion. None of them had a Patricia Ellis.
Marcus Ellis was found at 6:22 a.m. on Friday, October 2nd, 2009, by his neighbor, Jerome Watts, who had gone to check on him after Amara's mother called, saying Marcus was not answering his phone. Officers arrived at 6:47 a.m. Detective Ronald Briggs arrived at 8:15 a.m. He was on scene for 1 hour and 50 minutes. The crime scene investigation unit was never called. The medical examiner arrived at 11:30 a.m., 5 hours after the body was discovered, by which point the scene had been partially disturbed by officers who had no formal forensic training. The official report noted a single gunshot wound.
It noted the presence of a firearm registered to Marcus Ellis. It noted no signs of forced entry. What it did not note? Marcus Ellis was left-handed. The entry wound was on the right side of his head. There were no gunshot residue tests conducted on his hands.
The gun was found on his right side, the opposite side from every photograph Marcus Ellis had ever taken holding anything in his life. Detective Briggs noted none of this. He filed his report 9 days later. Manner of death, suicide. Case closed. Patricia Ellis requested the full case file 48 hours after receiving the report. She was told it was under review. She requested it again in November. She was told processing was delayed. She obtained it in January 2010, 3 months after her son died, through a formal public records request filed with the assistance of a legal aid volunteer she found through her church. What she found inside the file stopped her breathing. The gunshot residue test had been listed as pending in the initial report. There was no follow-up, no result, no documentation of the test ever being performed. She called the department. She was told the samples had been lost during processing. She asked when that had been documented. Silence. She hired a forensic consultant named Dr. Ardell Simmons, a retired Mississippi State pathologist, who reviewed the available evidence and submitted a 14-page report in March 2010, concluding that the physical evidence was, in his words, inconsistent with a self-inflicted wound, given the documented handedness of the deceased and the trajectory of the entry point. Patricia Ellis walked into the Meridian Police Department with that report on April 7, 2010. She was told Detective Briggs was unavailable. She left the report at the front desk. It was never entered into the case file. She found out 2 years later.
Patricia Ellis was 53 years old when Marcus died. She was a retired schoolteacher. She had never once in 30 years filed a formal legal complaint against any institution. She filed her first one in 2010. She filed her last one in 2020. In between, she did the following. She contacted the Mississippi Department of Public Safety requesting a case review in 2011. The review was declined. She connected with the Innocence Project's Conviction Review Unit in 2012, who referred her to a civil rights attorney in Jackson named Dara Michaels. Dara Michaels filed a formal federal civil rights complaint in 2013, citing violation of the family's due process rights in the investigation. The complaint was reviewed. It was dismissed in 2014. Patricia Ellis did not stop. In 2015, she contacted an investigative journalist named Terrence Shaw at the Jackson Advocate, who spent 4 months reviewing the case file. His story ran in February 2016. The headline read, "Left-handed man, right side wound. No test, no answer, no justice." The story was shared 40,000 times in 72 hours. For the first time since October 2009, someone with authority picked up Marcus Ellis's case file and opened it without being forced to. In 2017, the Meridian Police Department quietly reclassified Marcus Ellis's case. Manner of death? Undetermined. No press conference, no public statement, no apology. Detective Ronald Briggs retired from the force in 2018 with full pension benefits. The gunshot residue samples were never recovered. A person of interest identified through the journalist's investigation, a man who had a documented dispute with Marcus over a business arrangement in the months before his death, was questioned once in 2017. He was never charged. Amara Ellis is 19 years old. She never got to call her father on a Friday morning. Patricia Ellis calls the Meridian Police Department on the 2nd of every month, the day Marcus was found, and asks for a case update.
She has made that call 162 times. She told a reporter last year, "I am not doing this for me. I already know my son. I am doing this so Amara can one day tell her children exactly who their grandfather was, and exactly what was done to him, and exactly who refused to tell the truth."
Detective Ronald Briggs typed 7 words. Manner of death determined. Self-inflicted gunshot wound. 7 words for a left-handed man with a wound on the wrong side of his head. 7 words for a man who had food on the stove and his daughter's call coming in the morning. 7 words that a retired school teacher with no legal training, no political connections, and no reason to believe the system would ever help her, spent 11 years dismantling 1 document, 1 request, 1 unanswered phone call at a time. Patricia Ellis did not get justice. Not yet. But she got the word changed. From suicide to undetermined. And that word, that single reclassified word, means Marcus Ellis's story is not over. It means the question is still open. It means someone, somewhere, still has to answer it. Say Marcus Ellis's name. Share this video so his case reaches the person who has the answer Patricia is still waiting for. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because we post a new case every single day. Because 7 words were never enough for Marcus Ellis. And a retired school teacher proved it. Black struggles, cold case files. The truth doesn't stay cold forever.